All right, hey, cheers, and let's have a little bit of a story time about farming and forestry in Finland, and whether or not you should actually look into do that as business if you come from a foreign place, especially like Asia. Good whiskey helped me get through this conversation. So I have dabbled in forestry myself. I worked a lot of time, most of my life, in farming. So these are things that I know very keenly and would like to give a little bit of a heads up. So let's start with forestry because it's the easiest one to change into numbers. So first of all, you need to buy forest, obviously, unless you're going to be running a business that is going to be cutting trees or something like that for other people. But most of them, yeah, you need to buy forest, and it's not going to be cheap. 1 acre is going to cost you, on average, it changes quite a lot in which region of Finland you're going to buy, but any decent forest or stuff like that is 3,500 to 4,000 euros an acre. And if you want to have it like a reliable income, so that you don't need to worry about every year if you're going to make it or not, then something like 50 acres is basically a bare minimum. So as you can think of, do the quick math from that, that's going to be easily almost 200,000 euros. Big point, euros in cost just to own the forest. And that does not include expenses such as getting people to do those, like cutting trees, collecting the trees from the forest, and that sort of thing for you. Like machinery and so on. And those can be very expensive as well.
How much about the machine to do the forest work?
Basic forestry work, a tractor, just a small one. For example, if you do end up buying like 50 acres or stuff like that, you can get a decent amount, like 15,000 euros or something like that. But that's going to be just big enough to do that, like 50 acres, like reliably enough that you don't need to worry about once again. So
I have a question: is how much about the salary if you hire people to do the forest work for you?
Oh boy. Okay, that will be in two different ways. So either you would hire people based on like a project. Let's say like that. Okay, you got all these trees and stuff like that. You paid set amount of money, and this is easy way to control the budget for you because you pay the exact amount. Problem is, you're probably usually going to pay more this way than by hourly. But if you pay like hourly or weekly or something like that, then you need to actually make sure that the people are working and so on. And when you're in the middle of the forest, that can be tricky. I just say that. Oh, good stuff.
And how it runs about the industry, forest industry in Finland, the law and everything?
Oh yeah, this is important to remind. So how I heard these people say, so I'm just going to buy forest and cut down the trees and stuff like that and then just sell it and have a nice amount of money in my hands, right? Not that simple, because if you are doing big open cuts of any size in Finland, the law requires you to replant that forest, and that requires tilling the land and buying new little tree plants and stuff like that and planting them, all that, and that's going to cost you a nice amount of your cutting tree income. Fun stuff.
So which means you cut one tree, you need to replant one tree. If you cut
if you got a big open area, so it comes to that. There is like, if you have like dense enough forest, you can cut like one every 2 trees, that you have enough seed trees in the area that you don't need to replant. But that means that you can cut less trees, which is going to be obviously less income. Which comes to the second important things about cutting trees, is that it takes so long to get money from it. People underestimate this a lot. On average, a good lumber tree. So we're talking about lumber, which is your biggest money maker when it comes to forest in Finland and stuff like that. That takes 80 years to grow, to be in a good age to cut down, the good size and stuff like that. So once you cut it down, you're not gonna see any particular income from that forest piece in your generation. Could not even on your children's generation, but maybe your grandchildren can actually get something from it. Nice.
So which means if I cut a big open area and replant all the tree, then I have to wait 18 years, let it grow enough bigger, then I can cut again. So which means after 18 years, I might be die. So I leave it to my son or grandchildren.
Yes and no. You're actually gonna do at least 2 cuttings in that 80-year time, because the trees, when you plant them, you need to, just so the sake that the forest is gonna be dense enough to survive. You need to put trees like 1 meter away from each other, very densely. And after 10 years, you need to cut some of them off, like half, so that the rest of the trees have enough actually space to keep growing. And you're gonna do this like after 10 years the first time, 30 years the second time, and depending on the forest, you might have to do it one more time, like 50 or 60 years. But each of these cuts usually are gonna cost you to do all the work just as much you can actually get money from selling those young small trees, because they're not so valuable, because you don't get any like valuable timber that you can use in construction or something like that. No, most of that tree is just used in like make cellulose for paper or stuff like that, and it's not being paid as much. You won't get a good amount of money, especially considering how much you need to pay for other stuff to clean the forest in the first place. So once again, like if you are looking to get big paydays from the forest, that happens like once in 80 years. You have really ridiculously good forest, maybe 60 years.
So, in Finland, where or which area is good forest? Which area has a good forest?
This comes to the second one. So I heard people like, oh, I can get cheap forest. I saw this area in Finland, very cheap forest and stuff like that. And like, okay, can you show me the area? And it's somewhere like Kainuu or Lapland. No, that forest is very old, slow to grow, and the quality is not the greatest. 80 years is not enough to get a decent money from that forest. So, yeah. So the best areas, if you're looking to buy, is southern Finland, or the best ones in the middle. Like if you go like area, if you like a quick city to look around, it's like Jyväskylä, and like a little bit of west from there, like around that area, like the middle, what we call Järvi-Suomi, Lake Finland. So most of our lakes are in that area, and that has loads of good. The soil is really good for the forest growth. You have a lot of freshwater areas, and which is good, and also the hills. Like if you actually want good money from the forest, like loads of hills and stuff like that, it's really good. Forest grows better on a hill than on flat ground. That's it. That's a. You can't get around that.
And if you have your own forest, any other thing you need to consider, you cannot get income because some
So many.
What is it in English?
There's gonna be a lot of things could cost you money with forests and stuff like that. You don't expect at the beginning, especially. For example, summer storms or winter storms sometimes happens. Winter storms are more rare to have impact largely on the trees. But when they do, you're usually gonna have broken trees in the forest, and you need to collect them away and stuff like that. And summer storms, same thing. So storms, and the second one is bugs, for instance. There are some invasive species of bugs that are moving some areas in Finland and becoming a problem that will make that basically kill the trees. Like they eat the tree to a point that it won't grow anymore and stuff like that. And they can be very devastating. I can say that from some personal experience.
Can you tell me more about your personal experience of the bugs?
Oh, they just ruined the forest that I was taking care of. So bad that like I was to a point that luckily I got rid of all of it, but and everybody I knew. But the forest is like just basically you had to cut down everything down and get rid of the bugs, everything, to a zero state, and those forests are not going to make a profit for the next 80 years. So yeah, complete reset.
I'm so sorry.
Because of bugs. And that's why, for example, things like insurance is important for these kind of things. You don't know if that area is like, especially these days when the weather is just seems to warming up and warming up. We're getting warmer winters, which is not controlling the bugs as they used to be like 30 years ago. You didn't need to fear that because winters and summers and everything weren't so warm. So that these bugs used to live in like Central Europe. You didn't have this up north in the whole continent. But what can I say? Temperature is rising. So
It's happened.
these sort of things. So weather, bugs, all these sort of things. So you need to pay insurances on that. Oh.
So, do you quickly calculate if people from from other country
want to move
in, to start a business, this business, and how much euro per year you need to pay?
Let's just say this. So caretaking forest, like you buy the forest and you keep taking care of it to get a reliable income, at least 200,000 euros.
200,000 euro at least
I would say to make a yearly income. The initial investment wouldn't need to be that amount. You could put it like not have so much and buy in like every year, buy a little bit more forest and stuff like that. But then you get to a point that you're gonna run to a problem that a lot of even Finnish small forest farmers have a problem with, that they end up owning land all over the freaking place, and that they get to a point that it becomes a problem for them when their areas are like 5-hour distance from each other and other sides of the freaking country. Yeah, that's a problem.
How long need to work? Every day.
That's gonna be at least in my experience 40 to 60 hours a week to take care of. If you want to have a reliable income make from the forest and stuff like that, yes, you can work less, but you're gonna easily cut down on your income from it. So like hiring other people obviously is gonna cost you, and
They don't work hard. Time's off, I'm gone.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that going on. Like they're gonna be following the clock right away, and
Bye.
that's it. Coffee breaks, everything. They make sure they keep their coffee breaks. I'm ashamed to admit that as a Finnish person, but
Tauko.
yes, tauko. You're gonna hear that.
Tauko.
You're gonna hear that. So
Known as tauko.
oh boy. All in all, forestry is not as sweet of a rose as people think. It's not easy, and yes, there are people who can make it work and stuff like that, but usually they have either access to a huge amount of capital in the beginning or get really lucky with the land they get or something like that. Yeah. Okay, I think that covers the forestry. I can, like this in a quick summary, like if you are looking to get into it or stuff like that, you need a huge amount of capital to get into, at least let me point out, the 200,000 is like to make an income reliably every year to year for one person if your expectancy is like 20 to 30,000 euros, which is your average income in Finland. So yeah.